Hi. Question. What do you get when you combine 8-string guitars, a little bit of folk dancing, and a whole bunch of cowbell? Well, the answer, of course, is you get boss fight music. And that's assuming that the boss is a pastry. Cookie Crumbler is one of the small number of opportunities I get to write original songs for video games, and I'm infinitely grateful to be able to do that. But what's interesting is, as someone who's done a lot of cover songs, I found that writing original music is kind of like covering myself. And I put together this nifty whiteboard to help explain. I still have to draw the diagram, I suppose, so this might take a second. I'm just going to cut real quick. Bear with me.
3 weeks later.
Okay, diagram complete. Let's have a look at it. The first song that I write is the backbone. It's the little song. And whether that's a catchy vocal line or a catchy piano part or something else that can survive in ideally any medium, whether it's performed by an orchestra or turned into 8-bit or sung by a drunk person at karaoke, I need to have that little song. The second song, though, the big song, is the derivative. In other words, I make a heavy metal cover of the first song that I wrote, the little song. All the same melodies and motifs get translated into a heavy metal context. But at the end of the day, as the listener, you don't hear the first song, you only hear the second without experiencing the writing process, which is kind of the illusion. So with that in mind, the song started with 2 hands on a piano and with a couple of key pieces of information to consider. The first is that I knew that the boss enemy was going to be inspired by a children's fairy tale. When I was growing up in the States, that fairy tale was told to me as the gingerbread man. But if you speak a Slavic language, the main character of your fairy tale might have been called Kolobok, which is basically a bun. As you can see, it's a bun. And this, I guess this is a donut. So anyway, as you can imagine, since Limbo looks wildly different from the rest of Atomic Heart's levels, I was told to write music that was exciting, but also kind of cheeky and full of little moments and references. And as usual, I start by doing a little bit of research, and I found a band that, in my opinion, checked all of those boxes without even trying. And it's this band. Ruskaya. They're not a band anymore. You can look up why, but they were a group from Austria that really knew how to take a cliche and run with it. And after hearing their catalog, I knew in my heart I was going to combine Argent metal and Eastern European turbo polka. All right, enough backstory. Got the project here, let's actually jump in. In the brief, I was told that there were going to be 3 phases to this boss fight. So I figure at the very beginning, I would just want to introduce the song at kind of like a medium level of energy, get the vibe out there, but don't give away anything like too much. And especially don't do any Easter eggs right at the beginning. So this will be the most boring part, but maybe it'll be interesting if you like seeing things built piece by piece. I'm going to walk through the very first loop of the song, and I'll show you every piece and talk a little bit about what my thought process was. So here's the loop, just the drums. It's not that interesting. We'll add some extra drums. Kind of drum machine stuff. Typical Atomic Heart sound. What else can we add? Ruskaya. There it is. We need a little more though. We'll add, I don't know, some like ambient bed. Something just to give it a little more body. So that the vibe is here now. Okay, now we need to start making decisions about the rhythm section. In phase 2, there is definitely going to be Easter eggs, and there's definitely going to be 8-string guitars. So without doing that now, what's going to happen is in phase 2, the guitars are just going to explode into the player's ears where they weren't there before. So why don't we add some guitars in now? Nothing crazy, like just kind of textural stuff, no riffing, it's not substantial. But just enough to be like, hey, there are guitars in this song. So that's what I did here. Also, the yellow is the bass. It's playing the same thing. Barely noticeable. We don't have a main melody yet. We should add that. Here's the main melody. Probably, I would check it, but it's going to screw up my OBS recording. Probably Korg Triton. A nice 80s synthesizer that sounds a little video gamey. It's a really fun one. Cool. So normally at this point, I would probably move on to the next loop. I think it sounds pretty good. But in this case, when I was working on this, I couldn't help but think that something was missing from the song because the things on the screen looked ridiculous. Everything is edible. Your gun is a donut. The boss fight is Kolobok. It's a bun with a face. And I was like, something is missing from this. Like, it sounds fun, but this isn't for Atomic Heart. This doesn't seem like it fits exactly this game. It seems like it could fit a number of games. So I needed something to dial it in and make it feel more specific. I started searching for samples, things that exist in the world, you know, pastry sounds, kitchen things, people eating, I don't know, stuff. I wasn't really sure what I wanted until I came across this sample, which is why the song is called Cookie Crumbler. It's somebody shaking a box of cookies. I assume there's a plastic bag on the inside. And it is a perfect clap and or snare drum for this section. Turn it off. Turn it back on. I love real-world samples like this. I think it adds so much character. We can't forget the cherry on top, of course. It's like the stereotypical children's yay sample. Okay, let's move on. At this point, you've knocked down the boss's health bar significantly, and so it's time to bring in the main theme and the guitars at full blast. By the way, there's a bunch of Doom-inspired stuff in here. First is this one for BFG Division. That pause with the bow, something you hear in BFG Division. The chromatic riff here is inspired by, although not super close to Meat Hook. And then I do something, the 16th double bass run, like in BFG 10K. Hopefully you caught those. Actually, it wasn't just me wanting to do Doom-inspired things. That was actually in the brief. Not like Doom, like literally add Doom in here, but like the essence of Doom and nodding to Doom and among a bunch of other nods and things. This is supposed to be a little bit humorous, a little bit cliche, a little bit on the nose. That was the idea. The second half of this part is the main melody, which is just a bunch of stuff stacked on top of each other. This is how it sounds. You know, when I was sketching this, I actually only used the pizzicato strings because they sound cartoony, like this part right here. It's very cartoony. Reminds me of an old show called Animaniacs, which is something I grew up with. And they had these amazing orchestral arrangements, and they loved to use orchestral sound effects, basically the orchestra playing their instruments to make sound effects that were silly and cartoony, and very like old Looney Tunes, if that makes sense. So that's kind of where my head was at here. The problem with plucked strings, though, is that in a metal context, they don't come through very well, if that makes sense. So you kind of need everything else. So I ended up adding a lot of other layers. Started with some staccato strings underneath just to kind of fatten it up and make it still sound like strings. I added a trumpet. There's a layer of Serum playing an octave up. Well, get back around the loop. Right now, Serum. And then also, that other synth you just heard, the lower one, is a sampled out version of a piece of hardware I have over here, inspired by the original Polyvox synth. So there's literally Russian synth happening in here. Now, a little bit of bendy synth, a little bit of trombone. There is a piano underneath. One more loop and then we'll move on. This piano part kind of adds... Piano is cartoony in this for some reason. It none of these instruments sound like heavy metal. And I think that that's the charm of this kind of dichotomy, where all the lead instruments are not meant to be metal. They're meant to be very much any other genre. But then the rhythm section is just too loud. And it works. I don't know why it works, but it works. I just want to give one more shout out to Animaniacs before moving on. Wait, where does that play? It plays right here. Here's another fun one. Did you know that this song has vocals, actually? I mean, it's not really lyrics. I mean, maybe it's lyrics. You'd be the judge. But yeah, there's vocals. They're right here. Did you hear them? Okay, well, I'll single it out for you so you can hear it. Okay, here are the vocals. Om nom 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 nom. Om nom 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 om nom nom nom. That's me doing om nom nom nom. And also going into the microphone. At this point, I just started getting ridiculous. And you will never see it, but if you could see the video footage that I was given as like the demo footage, this makes perfect sense. Here's a question for you. If the song is already at 100% maximum energy, where do you go from here? There are some levers I can pull, like I can speed stuff up, or I can add more instruments, but I decided to do something that I'm actually not very good at, which is key modulation. I just changed the key between the phases. So, we have this key. Let's change it to this. What the heck? Let's change it one more time. Anyway, something I 100% didn't expect to be approved was my tasteful and sophisticated choice to add a loud-ass cowbell. It's my favorite part right here. That is in production, baby. Asking me to add humor into a song, that's a big mistake that you can make as a client of mine, because I'm going to add what I think is funny. And what I think is funny sounds bad. Fun fact, the clapping is actually just me doing this in front of the microphone. I added another layer just to fill it out, but yeah, this is just me. And also it's me saying, hey. Because, as the old saying goes, if you have mouth, you can sound effects. The last thing I'm going to show is probably my favorite bit of the song, and I'll start by saying that I'm a big fan of the band Nanowar of Steel. You can see them on the screen. And they have a song where they combined heavy metal and gospel music right here. It's so good. Anyway, of course, gospel music has nothing to do with Limbo or the World of Atomic Heart, but that double-time drum beat that you just heard, that's already where I was headed in my head. I think that's where I was headed. No, can you say head after that? As I was saying, double-time drums. Actually. Ruskaya. That's what this is, except it's got 8-string guitars. And, that turbo polka pattern with the horns and the guitars, at this point, I've just kind of lost the plot. It's just pure chaos. It's fun, though, right? That's the whole idea. And that is Cookie Crumbler. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. And if you want to listen to the song on Spotify, it's there along with all the other songs from the soundtrack. Last but not least, if you want to reach out to me and say hi, I'm Jeffrey Day Music on Instagram. Okay, see ya.